Morning, it's Sean Shapiro, police constable of the Toronto Police Service. This show, the thing you're watching, it's Ask a Traffic Cop. And today's the 27th of April, in case you weren't paying attention. What are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about what you want to talk about. Stuff and things related to traffic and police. We are the Toronto Police. We are in Ontario, Canada. And much of what we discuss is pertaining to the laws here. It doesn't mean we can't answer you about other things, but we'll tell you if we know the law there or not. But you have to be specific. If you're asking about Ontario, we'll talk about Ontario. If you're talking about somewhere else, we may have to employ Google to help you out, but we'll do our best. I was trying to transition to my Mac for today's show, and the audio didn't map out properly. OBS was not being cooperative. There were all sorts of delays that I didn't like. Trying to change here, moving the Instagram camera across. If you are watching on TikTok, if you're watching on Instagram, use the Q&A function. That's the bubble with the question mark in it. That's the only way I'm going to see your stuff. Otherwise, I'm not. Okay, hang on one second. Apparently, all this work I was doing this morning got me thirsty. And as one of my, actually, I haven't seen him in a while. I don't know why he's not coming through my feed, but one of the creators that I quite like on TikTok says, "Must hydrate before we educate." And then he drinks, and so will I. Okay, it was cold this morning. I was not impressed. I was not prepared nor impressed with the weather this morning. You can take it back. I don't want it. Nope. What we do have to talk about before we get into the stuff and things that really matter is where the Vision Zero enforcement team is today. Today being, again, April 27th. And for those who don't know anything about what we do here, we talk about this every single day we go live. Where is the Vision Zero enforcement team and what they are and what they do? Let's make that happen right now. They are a dedicated group of officers who focus on the big four. That's enforcement on speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. And you might ask, well, why? Why do we care about these things? We care because those driver behaviors lead to serious injury and death more often than any other driver behaviors. They're linked to those things. The results are bad when people choose to do these things. So we enforce them. And when we enforce them, there's no hugs. It is all about the issuing of a ticket. And why? Because that ticket's going to leave you with a nasty taste and hopefully remind you not to do it again. That is the goal of enforcement, is to prevent the behavior from continuing. People say it's a cash cow. We don't see the money. We do this because it changes driver behavior. Okay, where are the Vision Zero enforcement team officers going to be today? They are in 52 Division and 55 Division. That's downtown in the core. And it's the neighborhoods of Kensington, Chinatown, Bay Street Corridor, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, and East York. Those are the neighborhoods that those divisions service, and those are the areas that we're focusing on today. Why those areas? Big brain people, our analytics team, they look at different areas throughout the city and determine where we are needed most and when, and the numbers direct us as to where to go. And that's why we go there. I hope that you're dressed for the weather today, because my head was cold when I went for a coffee this morning. I had to get some coffee in me, and I did not appreciate it. I did not bring a hat, and I really should have. Question from Canner. Is it Canner Mobile? It says, "How are you doing today?" I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And just like that, the questions start rolling in. Akela Draconis comes in from YouTube. Oh, yeah, I should mention the fact that not only are we on TikTok right now, and of course LinkedIn, that other one, Instagram, that you guys. But we're also on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, everywhere that we need to be. If there's somewhere we're missing you think we should be, let us know. But if you ask questions on any of the platforms except for Twitter, because Twitter's not working right now, then we are able to see your questions and answer them. If you are watching on Twitter, we love you. We just can't hear from you until you decide to jump over onto one of the other platforms. And that's because the API is not working with Restream right now. And that's the company or the product that gets us streaming on all the platforms at the same time. Sean Chen comes in from YouTube with a good morning. And Sean is meeting up with me later because we have to shoot a video. We have some cool stuff coming from the Vision Zero Youth Network, and that's what Sean does. He's a student, and he is involved with trying to make roads safer through education in his school, which is very cool. Let's see here. Red light in cruisers to prevent eye fatigue, ? Our interior lighting has transitioned to red light, and it's a good thing. Pilots have been doing it for years. It's not a new concept, but red lights don't reset your night vision as quickly as white lights would. So you can actually function better if you have to read something or look at something inside your vehicle and maintain your night vision, which is very cool. Flashlights, many flashlights come in kits with red lenses, or they have, hit a button and switch the LED and have multiples. Anyway, it's very cool stuff, and yes, we have them in our cruisers. What is this? Can I be on my phone on a long train? If your vehicle is on the train and you're not driving, it's being transported, then yes. But if you're on a road and you're not legally parked, then no, you cannot. You're still responsible for paying attention to what you're doing behind the wheel. And I totally appreciate what you're saying. Some of those trains can be 20 minutes. Can't be on the phone legally. If you choose to, you'd be breaking the law and eligible for a charge. Now, I can't say that we're focused on vehicles that are stopped in front of trains, but know that you're eligible, so I wouldn't do it. Thank you for reminding me. Kayla says, don't forget about the Harley draw. That is a great segue and opportunity to chat about the fact that we are big supporters of Special Olympics Ontario. And one of the things that we do and that we're involved with is promoting their current raffle, which is www.harleyraffle.ca. And at that website, you can go and buy tickets to win a Harley. Can't guarantee that you're going to win, but you can certainly be a good human being and support the good work that the Special Olympics does. And next week we have a special guest. We're going to be meeting with an athlete from Special Olympics who's going to come in and talk about what she does and the sports that she competes in and how what it means to her, and also spend some time promoting a great cause of a Harley and opportunity to win a Harley. All around good stuff. Does passenger on a motorcycle need a helmet? Yes, they do. In Ontario, anyone on a motorcycle requires a helmet. There is an exemption for folks of the Sikh faith, and if they're wearing turbans, because that's part of their faith, they are permitted to do so without wearing a helmet. That doesn't mean it's safe. It just means it's permitted, and everyone else must all, and the passenger, regardless of seating position, you got to wear a helmet. Do officers actually like donuts? I have to think about this one. Does anyone not like donuts? I mean, really? Sweet, savory things that are just magical in every way. I didn't get this way by accident. Yes, I like donuts. But it's not like that. It's not that every cop likes donuts. Some prefer chicken wings. Just saying. There is some history to the whole donut thing. The only things that were open 24 hours years ago, and it was safe. It was safe to assume that both they wanted us to come into to check on them to make sure they were okay, and very often there was an incentive to either buy or eat a donut at that point. But also because folks in the middle of the night who were hanging out in donut shops may not have been friendly all the time. People, the donut shop wanted you to come in and say hello for their safety. I don't know what this is it true percentage cops question, but Bungslinger wants to know about it. So you're going to have to actually ask me a full question to get an answer. Any advice for a police foundation student? I can't give you really an advice. I didn't take the original police foundations course, although I did go back and take a police leadership course, which was under the blanket of foundations. Any schooling is good schooling. Just do well, study hard, focus on it. Better the grade, you feel better, but at the end you get a diploma, and everything gets looked at when you're applying. So whatever you're going to do it seriously and do it well. But I don't have advice specifically for that. I will tell you that what you should maintain and work on every day is maintaining your whole balance of life. You want to make sure that you're volunteering and involved in the community that you're serving, because that's that you want to serve, I should say, because that's important. We look at that. We also want to make sure that you're continuing your education and you're employed throughout. If you're hanging out on the couch playing Xbox for 2 years while waiting to become a cop, you may have a shock when they don't hire you. You want experience. Real experience, not as a cop, but in life. What happens if you drive with a suspended license? Well, if you're suspended, you get charged for driving with a suspended license, and bad things happen, charges happen, and your vehicle gets impounded. Why are yellow headlights no allowed? Yellow headlights are allowed. Under the Highway Traffic Act, you can have a yellow or white headlight, but those are the only two colors that are permitted. Going through questions. Here we go. Is there any audio issue? Are you hearing any bad sound, noise, hissing. I hear some, and I wonder if it's just me or does everybody hear it with me. Sometimes in not so great weather, we get some weird stuff happening, and I get that today. But it wasn't happening last week, and it wasn't happening on Monday. Anyway, let me know. I want to know. Oh, I hear that the sound is good. Good. So it's only me who's hearing the buzzing. Oh no, we have Karen who says she hears it. And well, I apologize if there's that hum. It's really annoying. I can't do anything about it right now. Can your front plate be displayed on your dash? No, it cannot. It's not legal to put it on your dash. It has to be on the front in a conspicuous place, the front bumper, the front of the vehicle. So that's front bumper, front grille, front of vehicle, not front windshield, which is about 60% or 40% into the vehicle, depending on how it's designed. In any case, not legal. And it's also an issue. It's also a potential projectile in your vehicle. And for anyone who's new, follow us. If you have never seen us before and you want to see us again, make sure you're following us. We go live Monday to Friday, except when we're off. Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., and that's going to be our summer hours. And then we might look into going back into a 9 o'clock start. What do you think about that? Let me know what you think. I am interested to know what's best for you. You are the reason we do this show. It's all about you. Well, almost all about you. Akela says you've got some reverb. Interesting. Yesterday too. Totally different sound setup. So I wonder why that would be. That might be a noise cancellation feature, but that's coming in through YouTube. So let's see what the audio settings are there. Cancellation, I don't usually turn it on, but we'll try it. Noise suppression. I don't know. Does that work better? Let me know. High resolution audio is active. Kayla, let me know if that made it any better. I flipped some switches. Don't know if it's good or bad, but we'll find out soon enough. What is this? Why is drifting in an empty parking lot illegal? Well, first of all, it's not your empty parking lot, and it's dangerous behavior. So if you're doing it, it's unsafe for everyone involved. If it's totally empty, it's at very least unsafe for you. It also damages the parking lot, which is not your property. So essentially, it became illegal on private property because of the actions of some bozos who thought they were cool. They were doing things, they were holding events, they were shutting down streets and also going in parking lots and making noise and damaging property. They would occasionally crash into things. They were putting spectators at risk. So the government saw fit to change the law to allow for that charge to be laid on private property. Instead of going directly to the dangerous driving, which is criminal, they allowed this charge to become available to officers on private property. Now that also included farmers' fields, school fields, parking lots, your driveway, parking garages, above ground. There was a list of a ton of things. The only place you can drift or stunt drive is on a parking lot, not a parking lot, on a racetrack that is specifically constructed for the purpose. So if you don't do that, you can't do it. Now, what happens? Who's this? Timeout, stop spamming. So apparently we got some spam going on. Just to let you know, I don't really pay attention to the chat. I'm in the Q&A. So who you are harassing when you do this are your peers on the platform. And what will happen is moderators who are unpaid, they're volunteers, they're not police officers. They volunteer their time helping me out because I need the help. We're too busy in here to not do it. And we'll kick you out. And if we have to, we'll ban you. So don't act like a bozo. Bozo is my new favorite term. I've been calling people bozo recently, and it's not to I figure bozo is a safe way to say you're doing something that's not appreciative. That, and some people don't like clowns. So, but let's go on. I think bozo is a safe way to be offensive. If I went 100 in a 50, how big is the fine? Well, 100 in a 50 is stunt driving. So we're going to take your car for 14 days. We're going to suspend your license for 30, and that's an instantaneous side of the road thing or in parking lot. If you then go to court, if you have to go to court because it's a go to court offense. It's a Part 3. 104 summons to court. You don't get to just pay a ticket. So what happens is you are subject or eligible for a fine of, I believe, $2,000 to $10,000. It comes with a 1 to 3 year suspension, additional to the 30-day suspension you get roadside, and up to 6 months in jail. That's for doing that speed stunt driving. Same as for the drifting. Now, that's on your first conviction. On your second conviction, although the 2 to 10 stays in place and the 6 months in jail stays in place, it now goes to a 3 to 10 year driver suspension. And if it's a third conviction, it's a lifetime suspension. Lose your privileges, because driving is a privilege. Water, water, water. Someone wants to know if they can drive on Percocet. That's a genius question. Perks, I would put you into the impaired by drug category, I would assume, depending on the levels. But I think perks are completely out of the game. But you know what? Maybe. Oh, here's another question. I'm going to start ignoring the questions about drugs because it's spam. Can the headlights be tinted yellow or only bulb? It doesn't specify that I'm aware of bulb versus housing. It's that the light that you project can be yellow or white, and that is all. So it's a good question. I don't know the answer if it's limited to housing or anything like how the light becomes yellow. Can a cop measure a car's speed? That is beside them. An amazing invention that came out a number of years ago. Like a few hundred years ago. It's a speedometer. See, we can pace you. So if we're traveling at the same speed, we know how fast you're going based on our speedometer. And yes, we can lay a charge based on that. So if you decide to speed with an officer who's exceeding the speed limit, know that that is enough for us to lay the charge of speeding. Because police are legally allowed to exceed the speed limit and you are not. Is having one headlight out illegal? Yes, in Ontario, you must have 2 headlights operational. If you only have one, you are in violation and you have improper headlights. You only need to have one taillight out, and one taillight is legal. So that's a thing. And yes, Sassy Wednesdays. I think it's just sassy every day. I don't know if sassy is the right word for me. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think we got a update as to what the question was about 40%. Let's see here. Can police issue a ticket from video? This is a really good question. No, that's not the question I was trying to choose. But I don't have a twin brother. I don't know who that was that you were talking about. Let's try this again. Can police issue a ticket from a video? And the answer is possibly. Depends on what's contained in the video. Highway Traffic Act offenses require us to have a couple of pieces of information. You need to have the date, time, location of the offense. Not only do you have to have the vehicle identifier, but you also have to be able to identify the driver. It's different than the charges that are laid for video or for red light camera, which don't require the driver because it's based on a different charge specific to the responsibility of the registered owner. When we write a ticket, it's to the driver, so we have to have more information. So it is possible. Depending on what information and what the offense is. So speeding, I don't know how I would verify that you had accurately measured the speed, but if it was something that was dangerous or cell phone use, potentially. Can you do any modification to your exhaust system? You can do anything that is legal, and so that I know that's not an answer you want to hear. But ultimately, you can't do something that makes it louder than what's legal. And chances are, if you bought it, and if it's a stock system, it's legal the way it is. So changing things might make it illegal. Speak to a qualified mechanic to let you know what is or isn't legal. You cannot do a muffler delete, a resonator delete. You cannot make it unnecessarily loud because guess what? There's a charge called unnecessary noise. And there's also charges for improper muffler or improper exhaust. Let's see here. Okay. Muting somebody. Is carrying 3... Oh, good. Again. Hey, Neon, what's going on? I didn't mean to select yours. I hadn't read it yet until it popped up on screen, but Neon says, good blessed Wednesday morning. Let's see here. Trying this one more time. Hey, I actually got the right one. Is carrying 3 knives legal? Knives are not inherently illegal. There are illegal knives, and carrying any one of those, which are prohibited, would be illegal. But carrying, there's no number of knives you can carry. You might have to cut 3 apples. You may have a box cutter and a multi-tool, and it depends on what you're carrying them for. It depends on what they are. So there's no specific, there's not an easy answer for that. Okay. Wrong info on a ticket, you get out of it. Depends on the wrong information. Some information can be amended in court if the rest of the information is correct. So if there was a letter missed out on the front, but it was all recorded on the back properly, or there's sufficient information to identify the person that we're writing the ticket to, it depends. There are fatal flaws, and there are ones that can be corrected in court. So it depends on what the error is. Can you become a cop with a record, or can you become a police officer with a record? Potentially. Now, I say potentially, I think you'd have to apply for a pardon. You have to be eligible for one. Or maybe there's something in your history that you were very young and you made a really big boo-boo, but you acknowledged it and changed your life, and it was so dated. Maybe it was the reason that you changed your life. And there are always potential opportunities. So you need to talk to somebody at employment. But you know what? Let's talk about employment. We are hiring. If you would like to become a member of the Toronto Police Service, you should check out our website, www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers. And on that website, you will see all sorts of great things, like details about what we do and what you need to do in order to be hired, as well as all the positions that are currently being offered to apply for. And one of those is police officer, but there are other positions within the service. You could be a civilian, a parking enforcement officer, special constable, tons and tons of jobs. And this is a phenomenal opportunity to get involved with a great organization. Boop the snoot. That's our moderator, Emma, saying, please help share this live. You can forward it to your friends and family. They love good information. And you can hit that screen until your fingers go numb. What will happen is it'll tell the algorithm that you like us and that we should be telling more people about it. And it is a wonderful thing for us. We don't get paid for this. I mean, we get paid. I get paid to be here because I'm a police officer on duty working in an office. However, we don't make money from this. We are simply trying to share good information and help your friends, your family, and everybody on the platform that you're watching on get more information so that we can, dispel rumor, iron out those things that may not have been accurate when they learned about them. Like, for instance, I grew up thinking it was illegal to have the interior light on in my car, or in our car, because it was my mom yelling at me to turn that off before we get pulled over. Wasn't actually a law, at least not in Ontario. But so many things are governed or influenced by television that sometimes people get the wrong information. We have some stuff that's popped in through YouTube. I've been neglecting you, YouTube. Sorry. Kayla says, apparently the audio changes we played with didn't make a difference for them. Big Jeff Fresh coming in from YouTube says, good morning. My wife coming in through YouTube with a good morning. Hi, I love you. Good morning. I hope the kids are having fun. Maybe they're watching. If they are, hi, guys. Kayla Jacona says, do fog lights count as headlights for bulb out? So, good question. Kayla, your fog lights are not your primary headlights. So if you had one of two fog lights non-functioning, you wouldn't be charged, but you still have to have your two primary lights. So the rule is you have to have a minimum of two headlights functioning. If your fog lights were on, you could have that would be a third or fourth light. Interesting thing that some may not know is that you can have no more than 4 functioning headlights on at one time. So for the folks who want to have 27 forward-facing beams, that would be illegal. You can only have up to 4 on at one time. The water is good. Hey, Lee, my wife says, it's snacks and YouTube time. Okay. Very cool. I always like it when my family gets to watch. It is cool. Let's see here. Please only ask questions once. If I don't answer them, it might be because I'm not going to answer it right now. If you ask it a number of times, I will ignore you. Why are loud diesel trucks illegal? Loud anything truck, car, motorcycle, if it's beyond that of what is legal, it's illegal. You're not allowed to pollute the community with noise. People have to live and sleep and work here. And when you are disruptive because of your vehicle, I pressed the wrong, I don't know why this is happening. TikTok, I'm upset with you. This is not working properly. The question that I tried to answer was about loud diesel trucks, and yet, hey, brother, I get stunt driving came up instead. Yeah, so let's try and get the right one. There we go. So unnecessary noise charges have been around forever. It is not new. If you're creating noise, whether it be because your engine is being revved at 9,000 RPMs at 20 kilometers an hour, and that's what you think is normal, that is unnecessary noise. It could be a stock car, in terms of straight from factory with a stock exhaust. You could have a defect causing unnecessary noise. You could just modify your car to make it noisier by taking out your muffler. Those would all result. Oh, you can also play your music loudly or hammer the horn and just drive around making noise. Those are all violations that would constitute unnecessary noise. It's unnecessary. If you are, however, talking about your muffler in particular, if you took out the muffler, that's running a straight pipe. That would be improper exhaust, and that would be an additional ticket. So not only the 110 for the noise you're making, but the 110 for making or having an improper exhaust system. So many potential for tickets. Nobody wants to give you a ticket. If you don't break the rules, you won't get tickets. It's simple. Simple, simple, simple. Not for our benefit that we do this. We do this for the community. Can you get a ticket with a cracked windshield? Yes, you can. It's unsafe. You can actually lose your license plates because it's an unsafe vehicle. But having an obstruction in your view, that's a problem. So some officers have a different threshold. Some will say a small crack is a problem, and you'll get charged. Some will say it has to be a bigger crack. Problem is small cracks become big cracks very quickly, and that windshield is no longer good. You need to get it fixed. You can't just drive around with a cracked windshield. Okay. What do you think of body cams while on duty? We love body cams. The more cameras, the better, because we want to make sure that we have the best evidence of what's going on. So when we have a camera covering what is said, the truth of what happens, we have someone that is an impartial witness. We have that video reference of what happened, and it helps protect us against allegations of wrongdoing when nothing was done that was wrong. I think it's fantastic, and my colleagues agree. A lot of questions about yellow tinted headlights today, unless this is the same person twice. Yellow tinted, the color of light that you project is what can be yellow or white, but nothing else. Hey, Aaron. Good morning. Aaron just walked into the office. Are you joining us this morning?
I will.
Hey, or if you got parking questions, Aaron is going to grace us with her presence. Chazzy says, does TPS have helicopters? You didn't say it. You asked it, even though there's no question mark. And the answer is no, we don't have any helicopters. We were actually offered helicopters. We tested helicopters, and now we phone a friend if we want to use a helicopter. It's an expensive thing to have in the air all the time, and to have even on standby. The expense of maintaining those is not cheap. I forgot what the number was, but it's not cheap. Why not blitz ghost cars instead of loud cars? How about we blitz all cars? If someone is breaking the law, we issue them tickets. We don't look for one ticket over another. We look for all tickets, all offenses, because everything relates to safety and following the rules. But we do focus on the big four. The big four are what the Vision Zero enforcement team look at, and really what everyone looks at. And that is speeding, because it's linked to serious injury and death. Aggressive driving, because it's linked to serious injury and death. Distracted driving, because it's linked to serious injury and death. And finally, impaired driving. Hey, guess what? It's linked to serious injury and death. Loud exhaust systems may not kill people. It does cause hearing damage. It does upset our residents. We get complaints constantly and forever about just how many times they're woken up in the middle of the night because somebody thinks their car is cool, when in fact it may not be. I'm going to bring the microphone up, and Erin is now here. How's it going, Erin?
Oh, good. Long time no see.
I was going to say, it's been a while since I've actually seen you.
I know. Well, yeah, you weren't here yesterday, and then I wasn't here on Monday. Well, you were here, but you were not here. You were at home.
I was off-site.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was, but I did some magic with the internet, and I was able to still go online. Although we didn't have Instagram, but Instagram probably figured out that they could have gotten us other ways.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, this is a good question.
Oh, sorry. I'm just pulling up your live so I can.
Oh, right on.
The chat.
Okay. What are your thoughts on self-driving trucks, like big rigs? I think at one point we're all going to have self-driving something, which I'll really miss, because like the Rush song Red Barchetta, it's going to be sad when all the cars are self-driving, because I like driving. Is the technology there yet? I don't think it is, but you know what? It's not legal in Ontario yet. We'll see what happens in the not-too-distant future, but it may be 10 years away. But at some point, I think that's just the way it's going to be. Accident with lapsed insurance. Driver, what is this? Accident with lapsed insurance driver, fault. I don't understand your question. But if you had no insurance when you were involved in the collision, you may or may not be at fault for the collision, but you're still going to get charged for driving without insurance. And if you're not the driver, the owner who permitted the vehicle to be on the road will be charged for allowing it to be driven without insurance on a highway. Fault of the collision is separate from insurance. So I need to know more as to what you were asking, because it doesn't make sense. How long does a DUI stay on your driving record? Driving record is the least of your worries. That's a criminal offense. And that stays on your record forever, because it's a criminal offense. You'd have to apply for a pardon if you were after having been convicted of that offense. In terms of the record, well, you're going to be seeing a suspension, and insurance companies are not stupid. They'll see your suspension. They'll know exactly what happened. Let's see here. Akela Jacona says, drones are cheaper. How many of those does TPS have? You know what? We do have a bunch of drones. We have a whole bunch of drones. I don't know the current number because we get new stuff all the time, but we do have a number of them. And App says, is it legal to drive a semi-truck if you have a thumb fracture, thumb cast, provided you are comfortable with driving within yourself? I am not aware of anything that would require you not to drive with a thumb fracture. I don't know. If there are medical requirements for driving big rig, I don't know if thumb fractures are covered under that. So I would suggest, who would you talk to? I would talk to someone at the driving school you went to, because you got licensed, you went to a big rig driving school. Ask them. I just don't have an answer for you. And it's a good one, and I don't have anybody from commercial vehicle in arm's reach to ask them. But I will ask them later, because now I got to know, so I'm writing it down. Someone with a broken thumb. Now, driving a regular car, not an issue. You can drive with a broken thumb as long as you can safely operate the motor vehicle. But I don't know if there's a provision for commercial motor vehicles. How long do we have to wait after drinking one beer? Well, that depends. Are you somebody who is on a zero blood alcohol content? Because everyone deals with alcohol differently. Everyone has a different amount of time for their bodies to process and evacuate that alcohol. So there is no 1 hour and you're good, especially if you are somebody who has a zero BAC requirement on the driver's license. So I would probably, actually, I can't give you an answer. I'm not going to give you an answer because I don't want to set you up for failure. I am going to tell you that if you're going to consume any alcohol, I would suggest not driving that night, because that's safer for you, especially if you are going to lose your license for having anything in your body. Is there any more leniency on driving in bigger cities? No. The law is the law. There's no leniency for the law based on the environment you're in. If anything, there's probably more leniency outside based on officers and based on what I hear. But if you're in the city of Toronto and you're putting people's lives at risk, there's no reason to be lenient. The reason what should happen is you should be charged so that the ministry knows that you shouldn't be driving. I know it's not the friendliest way of saying that, but the truth is we issue tickets to change behavior, and if you can't drive the way you should drive, you shouldn't drive. What is this? Tickets for an accident where no winter maintenance road. I think you mean you're blaming the road for the collision. At the end of the day, the driver's always responsible. It may be a factor that it was an icy condition, but ultimately the driver who chose to drive on the day that it was icy and drove beyond the means or the capabilities of the road, because if it was icy, then you should have gone really, really slow. And if you went really, really slow, you probably wouldn't have lost control. But if you did at that point, you still chose to drive. You're always responsible. There's nobody else to blame. Listen, it happens. People hit ice, but it doesn't absolve them responsibilities. What I'm trying to get at. You may not be a bad person, or maybe you didn't make a bad decision, but you're still responsible. Why is tint legal everywhere except Saskatchewan? I don't know. I don't know what the rules are there. I didn't know that all tint was illegal. Maybe there are specific permission limits. At the end of the day, I don't know. And here it's pretty strict too. You can only have 30% light blockage, and even then, you cannot prevent us from seeing inside the car. You cannot obscure the interior of a motor vehicle. Now, question about stretched tires. Let's see if the right question. Hey, the right question actually popped up when I hit it. Having stretched tires is absolutely illegal. That is where you have a tire that is meant for a smaller rim, and it is stretched, and the sidewall is beyond that of the tread, and I think it looks ridiculous, but many people think it looks cool. It is, however, unsafe. The sidewall is not designed to operate that way. You're putting unnecessary pressure on the tire, and you are going to create a failure, at which point it's going to cause a collision. In any case, illegal, unsafe. I would take your license plates, and that would be sad because you have to take a bus or a train or a plane, but not drive because it would be on a tow truck, and you have to reapply for plates. Okay. Any questions for Aaron? If you're asking questions in the Q&A or you ask questions in the chat, Aaron is looking to answer your your police. Why can't I say parking? Parking. Parking questions. Aaron is a parking enforcement officer. She is a bicycle officer and spends time advocating for, bicycle safety and keeping cars out of those places that put bicycle or cyclists in harm's way.
That's right. I put on my Instagram too. I'm like, come join us on.
I saw. Live. I just got a notification on my watch saying that someone put us in our story.
Yes, that was me.
Makes sense. Okay.
I'm just also reading through the Q&A and chat, trying to.
Right on. Well, here's a question: would modified show cars get a pass from tickets? Modified show cars that are meant for the show and have things that are illegal for the road would be ticketed, charged, or otherwise processed and taken off the road because there's no show free pass. If your vehicle is unsafe, it's unsafe for the road, and you get charged. You'll likely be on a tow truck, depending on what those modifications are. Can you be charged for no winter tires? Not in Ontario. Winter tires are a requirement in Quebec, but not in Ontario. And maybe that'll change at some point because they are a good thing to have. They do make it safer. In general, it is better traction, better ability to stick to that road in cold conditions. It's not just about snow. It's about the compound and so on. In any case, there is a benefit to in your insurance rates for having snow or winter tires. Would you ticket the police chief if he is speeding? Well, if the police chief in his police car is speeding, he's allowed to because he's a police officer, and the police, fire, and ambulance are permitted to exceed the speed limit. Now, there's a wider permission for police. We're allowed to do it not when going to a call. We can be doing it for enforcement purposes or a variety of reasons, but it has to be for the lawful execution of our duties. I imagine the chief would be doing it in the lawful execution of his duties. If it was my mother, who has since passed away, but if she was alive and speeding, I would ticket her twice because she should know better. Her son's a traffic man. She shouldn't disappoint me like that. But family members as well. I don't give breaks to anybody because you should know better. And if I'm going to be pulling you over and I'm going to give the speech to anybody, you're getting it too, along with the ticket. Granted, I will say that I'd probably call a friend in my office, or if I work with a partner, it would be they who write the ticket because, that gets awkward in court. But you're still getting charged. Okay. Is it illegal to have camber on your vehicle? Some level of camber is legal, but when you are riding on the corner of the side wall of your tire and tread, that is unsafe. Similar to that of stretch tires, it is not the way the vehicle was designed to operate. The tires are not designed to do that. You are going to create a blowout situation. It's unsafe, and take you off the road for that. Hey, Aaron, can a motorcycle park on sidewalks? Parking question.
Yes. That's a new sound. Love it.
It is a new sound.
So, no, they cannot park on sidewalks, and there's really no reason for them to park on sidewalks because they have so much available free parking for them in the city of Toronto. So you can park your motorcycle anywhere in green P street metered areas. Boop, boop. And you don't have to pay. So, and there's actually designated motorcycle and scooter parking only within the city where cars actually get tickets for parking in those areas. So you don't have to pay for parking in those areas either, but you can still get tickets on sidewalks, no parking zones, no stopping zones, and all the other bylaws.
Cool. Leafs fan wants to know, are wheel spacers legal to make your wheels wider? Your wheels don't get wider. They get stuck outside or out from the vehicle body, which is actually illegal. You have to have your vehicle body, fender, and or mud flap covering your tire. Anything sticking out from the body is illegal. Creating that situation by putting spacers is illegal. They also add to and create braking points in most cases for the axle, for where the means of attachment are. I've heard bad things. I don't think having them in particular is illegal in particular, but by having your wheels protrude, you are having improper tires. So that would be a problem. Aaron, any advice for the safest parallel parking?
I saw that one. Practice, I guess, and make sure you're leaving enough space. I'm trying to remember the trick that I was taught when I did driving school. It was a simple, like, you turn the wheel a full rotation once. Like, I can't remember because it's just second nature to me now. But
is this parking pointed to or to cause the whatchamacallit, not to roll away? Or are you actually talking about the process of parking?
I'm talking about the process of parking, but I don't know what this question meant in terms of...
Neither do I.
So I don't know. If it means like safest parallel parking, leave enough space for you and other cars to get out.
Yeah, I don't have any driving, what do you call it, advice in that. Now cars do it automatically.
Yeah.
You press a button, it does it. I don't know if that's good either.
Or the backup cameras are really helpful. But I don't use that because, I don't know, like... When I was learning how to drive, my dad took me to a parking lot and set up like 2 big like garbage bins and was like, yeah, don't hit those. And that's how I learned. So, yeah. Anyways.
The question of, is it illegal to have white LED turn signals? Your turn signal lenses should be what they were sent on factory. Having flashing white lights doesn't signify the appropriate color to let other people know what you're doing. So I would say it's illegal. I can't cite it for you, so I'm going to presume it's illegal. I'm going to have to look it up because what I don't like doing is going through and researching things while we're live. So making some notes. White turn signals. You can't have them in the rear for sure because you can't project white light to the rear. So we'll without question say white turn signals in the back are illegal. The question of it, whether or not it's okay in the front, I'm going to say it's illegal, but I'm going to confirm and we'll discuss it. Best, safest, not to change it and mess with it. That would be my suggestion as well. What is this? Are you see differently depending on your position? Are you see differently? I don't know what your question is. Maybe you can rephrase it for us. What happens if insurance lapses in accident? Well, you're driving uninsured, so you'd be eligible for a charge of drive no insurance. And at that point, that comes with a fine of $5,000 to $25,000, up to 6 months in jail. And you're, of course, not covered in a collision in the event that you get into one. It's your responsibility. And yeah, that's the deal. There's no exemption for oops. Hi, Aaron. Does Toronto Police use wheel boots?
So, is it like wheel boots to boot the car? No, we do not, because that sort of defeats the purpose of what we're doing out here. We want to get traffic moving. We don't want to leave them on the road. Yeah, get out of the way. So, no, we do not boot vehicles there. But we tow them and we impound them, and that's sort of the equivalent to...
Well, you get them out of the way, you
exactly.
Move on to the next one. If I just put a boot there, you're going to have a pile up of cars of bozos who don't know where to put their car and they're interfering with traffic. Yes, bozos is my new thing. You were here. I said bozo is my new way of trying to be less offensive to people.
I say bozo all the time, and I
really?
feel like it is offensive.
Well,
I don't say it on the internet, but it's just like bozo the clown. Like,
see?
There you go.
So what are you calling them, clowns? I was just calling them bozos. You just take it to the next level. So are wide bodies illegal? Wide bodies are not illegal unless the overall width of your vehicle is beyond that of what's legal or safe. But yeah, as long as you are covering the tire, or you're required to cover your tire. So if you're adding a body flare to cover the tire that you've now made stick out of the original dimensions of the fender, it's not illegal to have wide body. No. Now, again, if it was a 4-meter wide car, that's probably too wide. Are aftermarket headlights illegal? Depends on the aftermarket headlight. There are you can't put a xenon package aftermarket. You can't. I don't think you can put an aftermarket LED headlight in either. It has to meet the requirements under the Transport Canada and the HTA set out. I think we need to give more love to Aaron, and I am reading that verbatim because my wife is watching and needs to know that I am not suggesting anything. But
and it was a female, I think, who said that too.
It
So.
was Dash Struck. I may not be reading that properly.
And I think she also asked, why am I not in the live with you? Well, I'm
Well,
here. I'm just not on camera.
If you want to come back,
I'll show you all that I'm here. I'm in the rope.
You're actually not on TikTok. That's TikTok.
Sorry, I'm looking at the restream.
Yes,
There's a lot of cameras in here.
There are a lot of cameras in here. We are moving towards the ability to actually have multi-camera setups.
Yes.
But for TikTok, it's not happening right now. Just not. We can do it with our other system, but then Aaron has to be at a different computer far away. We're all on the same mixing board, although distanced. We're connected by long wires and rolly chairs. Is plate renewal still due on your birthday? My understanding is yes. I don't think anything has changed other than the fact that you don't have to pay. You do it online. And when I went to do it online, I've been talking about this a couple of times. I said I wanted to do it online. I recorded. I got all set up, and it said, tough luck. Our system is down for maintenance. So, there you go. Just my luck. What is this? Is Canada a stop and ID country? No, we don't just stop you and demand identification. We have to reason to. If you're driving a motor vehicle or a bicycle, which is a vehicle but not a motor vehicle, then you are obligated to produce identification if we're stopping you for a purpose that's covered. For instance, if you're driving a motor vehicle, it could be any offense. Additionally, we can stop you to ensure that you're licensed, insured, and sober. And at that point, you do have to surrender identification because you're operating a motor vehicle. If you're riding a bicycle and you're breaking the law, then you do have to identify yourself, although you don't have to provide physical identification. But just walking around, no. We are not a stop and ID. I've never heard of it referred to that way.
Yeah. We called it carding here. Is that what there is sort of?
Carding is a different process. Carding is stopping, and I guess carding didn't require you to have identification. It was stopping, talking, and recording information, and that's a practice that isn't done anymore. Do tickets from cams go against my license? No, they don't. Tickets from traffic cameras, whether it be speed or red light, do not specifically affect your driver's license. They are on the vehicle license, and they are the responsibility of the registered owner. Hey, if you don't know who we are, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable at the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada, and I go live Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., at least that's our summer hours, on TikTok and a whole bunch of other social media platforms answering your traffic and police questions. If you've got questions, we've got answers, and we work for an hour to do it. We got about 15 minutes left before we have to do other things this morning, like filming a social media video. But what else do we do? We also have Erin Urquhart, who's sitting next to me, and she is a parking enforcement officer who answers your parking enforcement and parking-related questions whenever she drops by, and that's one of those times that we're doing right now. So if you've got questions, throw them in the Q&A. That's how we see them. Now, Erin is also spending time in the chat, and our moderators are in the chat trying to help you out with answers to your questions. Somebody asked if we're all racist. I normally would ignore questions, but I want to bring specific light to you and your question because I think it's a ridiculous one. Mm-hmm. No, we aren't racist. There's a weird loaded question that I don't know if there's a good way to answer that other than thanks for coming out. Is it illegal to chrome tint your window? Or have chrome window tint? Actually, yes, it is. You cannot use reflective tint on the front windows of your vehicle. You can't have it on the windshield because no tint's permitted on the windshield. And you can't have it on the windows left and right of the driver. You cannot prevent us from seeing inside the vehicle. And when I say us, I mean that's everybody. It doesn't matter if it's a police officer trying to see if you're wearing your seatbelt, using your phone, or otherwise investigating. It can't be for a civilian who's trying to identify the passenger inside of the vehicle or the driver of the vehicle who may or may not have been involved in the collision. We want to make sure that when we're looking for people on, what is it called? Amber Alerts. If we're looking for missing people, we need to see inside the car. So you have no right to privacy inside your vehicle. You have to find better ways to pick your nose. Maybe?
Yeah. This isn't even in the Q&A, and it's not a parking question, but I just want to bring it to light because I want you to answer it. Is it illegal to film in a drive-thru? I do magic in drive-thrus for reactions. First of all, I think that's hilarious and amazing.
I now want to see these videos.
I know. I'm like, but is it illegal for them to film? Or
no, it's not. On private property, there's no rule against
in a drive-thru.
Yeah, but a private property in general, drive-thru or otherwise, there's nothing to prevent you from recording. Granted, on private property, you'd be subject to Trespass to Property Act. So if they came out and said, we don't want you filming here and we're asking you to leave, you would be obligated to do that. But there's no generally no rule. There's a presumption that you can record things. And the part that I'm sure you're most interested in is, can you operate a motor vehicle while recording? And on a private property, the distracted driving or the handheld communication rules don't apply. We can't lay the charge. So if you're, operating it safely and you don't hit the car in front of you, there's really no issue. Obviously, take it easy, be careful, because you are still responsible for a collision. You just won't be charged for it. I think that covers it. I hope that covers it. Now, please let us know where we can see your.
I followed him. We'll watch them later.
Okay, we'll check it out.
We're gonna look at your magic
I'm looking
videos.
forward
I
to
can't
this.
wait.
You got 2 followers now. Can you drive with spotlights on your car, because you're being chased and people are putting spotlights on you from helicopters? A spotlight is not a prohibited thing. I believe I read somewhere that you can only have one. I don't remember where I read that, but I recently was reading something and talked about having spotlights. And I guess this is related to having a retired ex-police car. There's no rules about having an ex-police car, as long as it doesn't say police, as long as you're not putting yourself out there to be a police officer and confusing the public. Now, if you're pulling people over, I look to get arrested, because that's what you'd be doing, impersonating a police officer. What's the difference between an M1, M2, and M license? Okay. So these are all motorcycle license designations. It's the graduated licensing term. So your M1, you can drive 30 minutes before sunup and 30 minutes after sundown. That's the time frame. You cannot have any passengers. Thankfully, that's a thing, because I wouldn't want to have to supervise somebody while being on the bike of a novice motorcycle rider. Boy, that'd be scary. And then no alcohol and no highways are over 80 kilometers an hour. M2, and of course, I think it's only good for 70 days. There were some extensions during COVID, but ultimately they're a 70-day learner's permit. You get your M2, and the M2 gives you basically all the privileges of a full M, except you maintain the zero BAC stipulations. So other than that, and it of course expires if you don't take your full M. But I don't think there's anything else. And if there is something else, let me know, because I don't think there's anything else. And I've been riding for over 30 years. Is it legal to be that handsome? Best comment ever. No. I don't know if I'm breaking laws. You'll have to let me know. What is the required limit for legal tint? The deal is that you cannot have more than 30% light blockage on the windows left and right of the driver. That is specifically for the light truck and passenger vehicle handbook. That's what is referenced when mechanics are determining whether or not they can safety your vehicle. So if you have more, then that's something we can flag your vehicle as unsafe, take your license plates, and you're not driving anywhere. Additionally, you can't have any tint on a windshield that was manufactured, or a vehicle that was manufactured in 2017 or newer, but you can have 3 inches of sun strip across the top if your vehicle was manufactured 2016 or older. And that's it. You can go as dark as you want on the rear, as long as you have a clear view by way of mirror to the back, and no reflective. Did I say this? Or I said it earlier. No reflective tint on those driver or passenger windows. Aside from having tint that's too dark, there is something else to take into consideration. If we can't see you, if we can't identify the driver, regardless of the amount of light coming through, it is seen as a obscured interior, and you cannot obscure the interior of a motor vehicle. So 2 things that you should be aware of. If we can't see you, you could expect to get a ticket for obscure interior of motor vehicle with either color or reflective coating. Does a DUI as a G driver affect my M license? Absolutely it does. You only have 1 license. Suspensions cover your license, period, not your ability to have an endorsement to drive a motorcycle versus a car. However, having a zero BAC requirement of a graduated license does not, that only applies to the vehicle you're driving. So if you are a fully licensed G driver who's 22 years old, you don't have to have zero BAC on or in a car. However, when you're on if you have an M1, requirement says zero BAC when operating a motorcycle. So you would be covered or responsible for following the condition of the M portion of your license. Can the MTO issue speeding tickets? They do not pull over non-commercial vehicles. They don't do that. And I'm sure they wish they could. I wish they could too, because we need more people issuing tickets for people who are choosing to make the roads unsafe. But I don't believe they can. Kids with older cars with no seatbelts, ticketable. Okay, this is a funny question, and it's funny because I'm a dad, so I have personal opinions here. I would not put my child in a vehicle that does not have proper restraints, regardless if it was a classic and a wonderfully beautiful car. If it doesn't have a proper way to keep my baby safe, my kids aren't going in it, period. So legally, if your children require seatbelts because they're over 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9", then they're legal to sit in a car in any seat in a motor vehicle. They would be legal in an older car that doesn't require seatbelts. Again, I wouldn't put them there because I care about my kids more than anything else. Now, if the kids were in a booster, which requires a seatbelt, and if they required that booster, they were less than 8 years old, less than 80 pounds, shorter than 4'9", then it would be illegal to take them in that car because the law, as it was written, says that you have to properly transport those children in restraints. Well, if you didn't put them in child safety restraints and you took them in a car because they didn't have seatbelts, now you're liable. Now you're eligible for that ticket. We had this conversation last week with Sergeant Campbell, and we agree that the charge, although maybe not fair, it doesn't seem to have an exclusion for those old vehicles, whereas seatbelts, it would. Can you have 2 tanks for more than just gas or fuel? Tanks would get into safe transportation. They have to be certain approved things. Like I've transported gasoline in my trunk. If you mean a full-time fuel cell, I don't have that information. I don't know. I don't know how it would work. I mean, off-road vehicles do it. I just don't know how it would work for you. Transporting, I don't know. I was going to say, you don't want stuff leaking, and especially leaving gasoline in a hot car over the summer. The expansion is wild. Like you open up the vent, and psst, you don't want those fumes inside of your vehicle either. I would say there's probably something saying it's not a good idea. Now, if you're putting a fuel cell on the outside of the vehicle, I've heard of all sorts of people. There's a guy who does the Cannonball. He's a YouTuber whose name escapes me right now. He installs things, additional fuel cells in his vehicle. There must be a legal way to do it, but you got to make sure it's done properly and safely. What is this? Someone runs a red light, you hit them, no witness or cameras. Boy, having a dash cam would really come in handy. My vehicles have them. Well, I can't endorse a specific brand, nor do I want to because I'm currently unhappy with mine. I will say that having one is a really good idea. We got 2 minutes until the folks on Instagram say goodbye because Instagram, well, I want to say it sucks, but I'm not supposed to say that. It sucks because they haven't verified us yet. And they might be bozos.
Get it together, Instagram.
Yeah, we applied. They haven't verified us. And because we're not verified, we cannot actually go beyond an hour. So in a minute and 35 seconds, sayonara. Okay. Why do people drive around with brights on? Is it illegal? Little known fact, your daytime running lights are actually your high beams running at low power. So everyone during the day is all running with your high beams on. It's illegal, obviously, if it's at night, or even having a misdirected headlight if it's not aimed properly because of damage or just people change things and mucked around with the aiming. It is illegal, and it's improper headlights or failing to. There's a specific charge of high beams. Let's see here. And why do they do it? Because some people just do things they shouldn't do. Why are school buses not required to have seatbelts? Because I think they're going to all require it at some point, but it's why do city buses not require seatbelts? Why do taxis not require children to be in car seats? There are certain things that were made and exempted because you can't always carry a car seat as a taxi, and a mom, dad, parent needs to get somewhere. They exempt them because I guess it was reasonable. It's not safe. I wouldn't do it. I've been ignoring the folks on YouTube. My apologies. Doozy TV says, Aaron in Toronto, what are you tested on for parking?
What are you tested on to get the
job? I guess to get on the job.
Yeah, well, see, I can't really answer that because I was grandfathered in before the process has completely changed.
I would suggest, because we are hiring all sorts of positions, go to www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers.
Yes. I can tell you that you do need to have your OACP certificate as a prerequisite, which It's not the police version. I believe it's like the special constable version.
That's the one that you have to get for parking?
Yeah, the same one, yeah. So that's the one thing I can answer for you.
Aaron is a follow-up from Doozy. Aaron, can someone get ticketed or warned for not parking with an e-brake if you don't employ the brake? Do you ever check to see if someone's using their parking brake?
No,
I don't think it's a
we don't
requirement.
issue tickets for that. Like,
No, you have to have it for safety to be functioning in the vehicle, but from a safety standpoint, if there was an inspection done, but we don't generally lay charges for. I mean, parking.
Parking enforcement does. I've never. I don't think there's a parking bylaw for that.
I wish I was looking at the screen when Big Jeff Fresh said it was only a scratch. I don't know what this was related to, but I smile. Doozy with yet another question. I'm just getting all the doozies out because I left you hanging out. What made you want to get into the traffic services field? And I think that was directed at me rather than Aaron for the first time. Thanks. So I was an auxiliary officer recruited into traffic services back in 2000 when I first joined the auxiliary service as a volunteer. And I got recruited to traffic not knowing that would end up being my life because I had my motorcycle license. So they were, hey, you want to ride a motorcycle as a volunteer? I'm like, heck yes. Chips was one of the major influences of me becoming a police officer in general. So yeah, that was my thing. And then the rest was history. I knew I wanted to be in traffic. And when I became a police officer, I volunteered to come to traffic. And they said, no, you should go to 12 Division. And I said, okay. And then as soon as there was an opportunity to transfer, I did. Big Jeff Fresh says, you were talking about tint and finding a new way to pick your nose. Reminded me of the Seinfeld episode of it's the nose scratch.
Yeah, the scratch.
Yes, it was not picking, it was the nose scratch. Got it. All right, very cool. When will the tint questions end? This is the song that never ends. It's points every time. We just keep. It's like the drip. Anyway, what is this song? Yeah, that's the new tint sound, I think. Is it illegal to use racing slick tires? Yes, racing slick tires are for racing, and even racing cars only use slick tires in dry weather. They do not. They have no channel for water to get out, and they'd be slick. They'd be dangerous. Race cars change their tires based on the weather conditions that they're driving in. So yeah, that's illegal for the road. I saw it was funny, but it was a horrible video of someone who was saying, I finally got my tires sanded down that they look like slicks because they had worn them like smooth. Very scary.
That's, not good.
How long does an accident ticket stay on your driving record? The deal is that there's no such thing as an accident. There is something called a collision because somebody was responsible. It wasn't an oopsie-doo. And they stay on. The actual charge related to a collision stays on for 3 years from date of conviction, and any points that are accumulated stay on for 2 years from the date of offense. Okay. What happens if you refuse to offer ID? Depends what we're talking about. If you're involved in a collision, you've committed an offense because you have to exchange information with the other drivers. If you are refusing to provide identification, to surrender it based on a demand of a police officer, and we can't verify your identity, we will arrest you until such time as your identity can be confirmed. That applies to a pedestrian, that applies to a driver, not a pedestrian, my apologies. It applies to a cyclist, and it applies to a driver. Is it normal to be scared to drive after a collision? Absolutely. I was involved in a motor vehicle collision. I was on a motorcycle on duty with the police on my way back to the station when a driver decided to pull out of a parking lot, a gas station specifically, and meet me in the middle. I was traveling one way. He pulled into my path from a row of stopped cars, and I ended up going for a short flight. Why I bring this up is I have been a different driver, more vigilant, hyper vigilant, because I don't want to get into another collision. I am scared. I am not scared so much that I cannot function safely as a driver, although I will say that in the very beginning, shortly after, I remember getting very like anxiety from hearing revving engines, screeching tires. It was bracing for that impact. So you are not alone. It is totally normal, and it gets better. It gets better because I'm a lot better than I was.
Yep, totally. And also just witnessing a crazy collision like the one I showed you when I was out in Alberta.
Oh, yeah.
That I was by myself, and I had to drive back like 3 days later, or 1 day later, and I was so nervous and scared, hyper vigilant, and I witnessed a crazy fatal crash when I was out west, but. It's gotten better.
It does, and you realize that you're not. What made it worse for me is 6 months to the day after my collision on the motorcycle, Christmas Eve on my way to Mandarin, and a guy turned and did almost the exact same thing that caused the first collision, except instead of pulling out of a parking lot, he pulled through stopped cars across my path because he had to go into a parking lot, and no opportunity to respond. Another collision, and these collisions have affected my life in a not so wonderful way. I'm not on the road anymore. Yesterday, it's the weirdest thing, and I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I was going to go pick up takeout for my kids, and a police car was rushing the other way, going to a call, and I got emotional because I can't go to those calls, and I can't be participating in helping people on the road the way I want to. The reason I became a police officer.
Yeah.
And it just took, I was listening to country music at the time because I was it just
set you in the field.
Combination of I had the feels, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is years later. This is 4 years ago that I was involved in these collisions, and I'm still affected by it today. I'm still dealing with injuries as a result of those. So I'm glad you brought it up because it's an opportunity to talk about this stuff. It's totally normal. It does get better, and take it easy. Just do what you can do. Don't be forced to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. So if you don't want to drive a lot, drive less. If you don't want to go on the highway, don't go on the highway. And I would definitely put in a dash cam because it's not necessarily your fault when things happen.
Definitely.
But that goes into your follow-up question of, if they can't prove fault, will the charge be 50-50? We will generally find someone specifically at fault. Physical evidence at the scene paints a picture, and we're going to say that I'll tell you basically, if someone's turning or changing lanes, they're at fault. If someone rear ends you, they're generally at fault. So outside of those, there's always potential other factors, but those are generally the rules. And if there's no fault or we don't lay charges, even if we do lay charges, the insurance companies determine on their own, based on their findings, who they determine is at fault. We may say it's 90-10, 100% one person, and it may be somebody else who turns around, or they may turn around and say, no, it's 50-50. Doozy says, just want to say I passed the N test last week because of you. No kidding. What's an N test? What's an N test?
Beats me.
I'm glad that I helped contribute to passing. I just don't know what test the N test is. Is that I should probably know what that is. I feel like I should know what that is.
Like getting on Google right now.
Okay. What is the biggest difference from driving laws from the 90s and the 2000s to now? I think just the what's it called? The consequences for stunt driving, the consequences, and the fact that there are driving charges related to use of handheld communication devices. I think that's going to be the biggest, the distracted stuff.
Oh, someone said I think they meant M, like
M license, maybe. Doozy, what did you mean? I want to know. We're googling like crazy, but
nothing relevant is coming up either.
Well, now I don't feel as bad now, but I think the changes are the fact that laws have changed, that driving has changed, that technology has changed, and we're always even if you look at the laws since their introduction. Laws for handheld communication device. I think we started at, I said 125, and somebody corrected me and said it wasn't 125. In any case, just over $100 to now being $615. Having suspensions that are 3 days on conviction for an HTA offense, like cell phones. These are things that we're changing to deal with driver behavior. There was a lot more respect, I think. He lives in British Columbia.
Okay, I saw that.
N is right after your L's. You can drive alone. Okay, yeah. Other provinces, I don't feel bad. I can't keep track of them. There's numbers for some, letters for others. But yeah, so the deal is that there seems to be less concern. There seems to be an unhealthy willingness to take risk, and maybe it's because the cars were less safe. They didn't have airbags and auto stop and all this stuff, and if you got into a collision, you probably died. So people were more cautious, and maybe I'm making that up, but I think people are taking way too many risks right now. But I think that's some of the biggest changes. And we're not finished yet because we got autonomous vehicles and all sorts of strange stuff.
Yep, the future is here.
Here's one. A cop gave me a ticket for failed to stop at amber. It's a great ticket. I like that ticket. I lay that charge. The reason for that charge is because a yellow or amber light means stop. It doesn't mean go faster. It doesn't mean just meander through the light. It means stop unless it's unsafe to do so. So if there was undue risk involved with stopping for that amber, you were expected to stop. Now, if you were speeding, that's a problem. If you were not paying attention, that's another problem. But it's a legitimate ticket, and it has the same impact as running a red light. Do I have to yield to everyone inside a roundabout? Yeah. You need to yield to the people in a roundabout. That's how roundabouts work. It's one of the reasons why I don't like roundabouts is because nobody understands roundabouts. People don't know that they have to signal when they exit a roundabout. Okay. But yeah, you have to yield to the people in the roundabout. It has to be safe to enter. GoPro chin mounted on motorcycle helmet legal. Anything that you add to the shell of the helmet, if you're adding it, you're attaching it, it's making it illegal. It's not safe. You're specifically not allowed to modify the shell or add things to the shell, and that is a problem. Oh, I just realized the time. I've gone late, and I've got a film shoot in 15 minutes. Got to go. Folks, it's been a blast. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to do it all over again. And if you don't already follow us. And, I'm going to go program tomorrow's show in today, so put a reminder in so it tells you to come join us because we would love to spend time with you. Take care.
Bye.
10, 9, 8, 7,